Alright, this is going to be a little video here to show what I've been working on since kind of my absence on YouTube. I've been working on a lot of bikes and engines lately. I mean, I'll get back to the electronics and whatnot, but these have just kind of been fun little projects that have cropped up due to convenience and whatnot, so don't worry, I have not abandoned the channel or anything. I know I've been kind of uploading far and few between, but we're still going. So first off, I guess I'll start off with this old Moto Boy lawnmower. This thing's kind of a beast. It works perfect now. I got it for 20 bucks on Facebook Marketplace. Scrapper had it. He thought it looked cool and didn't really want to scrap it. So he saved it and posted it there, and I swooped up and got it. You can see it has a clutch up here. That works if you slam it into place, but if you ease it into place, then it just squeaks and doesn't move. So you gotta kind of learn how to use those. And as you can see, it's belt driven up here, and then there's a chain that drives it to the wheels and the actual mowing assembly. The problem with this is that there was a valve that was stuck open, so there was no compression, but it rolled over just fine. It had perfect spark. Everything else seemed to work, so all I had to do is really kind of tap that valve back into place and clean the carbon out. And it works perfectly fine now. I mean, this thing is going to cut the grass this spring and summer, and hopefully many, many more springs and summers. I don't really plan on getting rid of it, so don't ask in the comments. It'll be fun. It'll be fun to use, and I'll make a startup video on all these engines when I have the time and whatnot. But I've been starting them up a lot around here lately, so I kind of feel bad for the neighbors and whatnot. So I'm gonna hold off on that in this video. But startup videos for each of these will come when the time comes. Alright, this tall beast here is a 1979 AMF Black Gold Roadmaster. Very, very cheap Kmart bike from the late 70s and early 80s. I think they made these, at least like this, from like 75 or 6 to like 82. And this one is a 1979. This is my newest fix because, well, I actually fixed it yesterday. I got this for free because it was sitting next to a dumpster for months and months and months, and I concluded that it was abandoned with the building that it was by. So I got kind of the okay to take it. And the problem with it, I got it home and I realized that this crankset was just, like, you could just rock it around. There was like nothing on the inside of the crankset. So I took it all apart, and I figured out that the little bearing holder thing was completely mangled, and in the bottom of the bearing holder crankset thing was just a pile of bearings. So yesterday I went down to the local bike shop, and I kind of told them the problem, asked them if they had any crankset parts, and they sold me a cheap parts bike for 10 bucks, and the bike was actually in really good condition. I felt really bad for ripping it apart, but it was a Huffy, so I guess there's not really much of a loss there. It's a 1987 women's Huffy Coast King bike, and the frame I'm going to sell and the wheels I'm going to sell because that bike is like unused condition. Like, it is like spotless. But this thing works nicely now. It's going to be my main road bike. I feel bad for using my 1967 Schwinn. This is a women's bike too, but I kind of tortured the heck out of it. I fixed it up, and then I would take it on like 60-mile bike trips, and eventually the bearings in this thing had just kind of had enough. The front derailleur just popped apart, and I kind of thought, well, I think it's time for a new bike. And as you can see, it's short. The seat is taller than the handlebars. And this is a stick shift bike too, twin stick. I really liked stick shift bikes. I know that they're kind of so-so among the bike community, but they're fun. And I don't know. This thing has just kind of had it, but I'm going to keep it around and kind of use it as a show bike, like how people use classic cars and whatnot. Yeah. Might I mention that this bike is like entirely made by Shimano. Like everything on this bike is made by Shimano. The wheels, the brakes, the derailleurs. I mean, everything on this bike is Shimano. Everything but the frame has a Shimano logo on it. The handlebar is a replacement up here. It's a flat bar, and I'm kind of so-so on my opinion of that. I think that this bike looks really cool, but it's not very aerodynamic with that huge flat bar, and this thing is, I mean, it's up to my chest right now. I mean, that's a tall bike. And we have a replacement seat back here that's pretty weathered, but it's like from 2018. Yeah, this is, like I said, going to be my main bike. We have a replacement front derailleur. It's a Shimano Thunderbird 2 and a Positron 2 in the back, which a Positron 2 was the original kind of setup here. Very common kind of 70s derailleur setup. Here's the original parts here. As you can see, that's really mangled. The other one's fine, but these cups are also totally trashed. They're all cracked. And there's a pile of bearings down there. When I took this thing into the shop, the guy was laughing. Hopefully the video wasn't upside down there. If it was, I'm sorry. But yeah, he was laughing, and he was like, "Oh yeah, that's AMF right there. Just totally trashed after how many miles this thing has gone." This is a replacement here too. I put this on, this new kind of gear set from that Huffy women's road bike, and everything in there came from that bike. And over here we have the original. They're the same. This one's really worn down. This bike has a lot of miles on it, like a lot of miles on it. So everything is just kind of worn out, but the bearings and the wheels are still really good. I mean, if you give that wheel a spin when this bike is upside down, it'll go for like 6 minutes. So those are good. I mean, at least for now. I might have to replace them, but oh well, that's not the worst task in the world. These handlebar grips are kind of shot from weathering. But yeah, let's move on to the next thing. Alright, next thing we're going to look at is a 1990. I got the date code from the bottom of the hub. It's a 1990 Huffy Stalker with an engine on it. Ooh, an engine. It's a 2-stroke ice auger. I think it's like a 1980s or 1990s Eskimo ice auger. Engine works okay, but the carburetor is kind of shot. I mean, yeah, I went through the carburetor yesterday, and the carburetor is shot, or at least really needs a lot of adjustment. Carburetor cleaning didn't really work, so yeah. We got a fuel line that's kind of cracked here, and the little nub there. I put thread locker on it because it has a crack in it. This is going to be a pretty long project, but it should be pretty fun. You can buy parts for this for pretty cheap. Like, I think a new carburetor is like $15. As you can see, it's missing an air filter. I need to fix that before I take this thing on trails. But, I mean, the engine works, but you have to kind of keep it alive. It's got an automatic clutch, which I don't like. I'd like that to be a manual clutch because, I mean, just think about like coming to a stop and you have to keep the engine alive. You don't really want to have to keep revving it and then the clutch pops in and whatever. I tacked the throttle up here. This is a friend's project. He gave this to me. I traded him a lawnmower for it and then another engine we'll be getting to. Just recently, like 2 or 3 days ago, and I've gotten a decent amount of work done on it. He welded this steel plate here to mount the engine on, and then this is a belt tensioner. It's the old derailleur. He also welded the gears on here and here, but with the current gear ratio, this thing's top speed, theoretical max, we calculated it to be about 860 miles an hour, or 360 meters a second. I think that's around 850 or 60 miles an hour. But we're going to have to change that. I think I'm going to put a gear up here on this thing that'll mesh into the little gear on the inside of this. That should bring it to a nice 32 mile an hour top speed. That's more like it. That's what this is supposed to be. I put these on here. It's what you put your feet on as it's going. And I measured the chain out to be, it's shorter than a standard 10-speed chain, so that's good, which means that I can just buy a 10-speed chain and shorten it, even with the belt tensioner, or a chain tensioner, sorry. But the engine is very, very loud, so I'm not going to start it up, because I was kind of cleaning everything yesterday on it while it was running, and it was loud, and I kind of felt a little bad doing that. The brakes are shot. I mean, that one's like totally seized. What you're seeing there is the plastic bending. That's the movement. This one works, but not very well. I mean, I'll replace the brakes before I actually use it, but this would be a fun thing to take off to college, like I'm kind of thinking. Kind of cruise along campus or whatever, get to point A to point B pretty quickly without having to have a car with a license plate with it being insured and whatnot. But yeah, this is small enough to just, I just need to have my standard driver's license, which I have already, obviously, and I mean, I can just use it. Of course, the state of Wisconsin has some laws about that I need to follow, and I'm going to kind of read up on those before I actually start using this. But that's okay, because for now it's kind of going to be a ATV trail kind of cruiser. But yeah, that'll be fun. It can fit in the back of a car, and I mean, it's cool. Alright, next little neat doodad here is the other engine I traded for that lawnmower. So I got the bike and this thing, and he got an old lawnmower of mine. It was an old MTD from like the 70s. And I guess I'll kind of say what his project is. He gave me these two items just purely because he needs space in his garage. He needs a push mower too, so I gave him a push mower for these two things, because I mean, these are nice things that work. At least the chainsaw and the engine works on the bike, almost. But he also got a riding mower. It is a 1995 MTD riding mower that he got working and kind of got from the school. I guess they didn't really need it anymore or whatever. And his project for that is a autonomous lawnmower, believe it or not, that'll mow his lawn autonomously. Now this is totally the kind of thing that this kid does. I guess he's not really a kid, but I mean, if he put his mind to it, he could do that. Totally. I mean, he already has a plan for it. That sounds solid, and I could totally see working. But yeah, I mean, it's probably going to happen, which is really cool. I mean, I can't wait to see an autonomous riding mower. But anyways, I've been talking for too long. This is a 1970 Pulan 306A Emerson Electric Co., which I'm very intrigued by. But this is an old chainsaw that works perfectly. This is a top-of-the-line chainsaw for 1970, and the serial number does indicate 70 as the year. I mean, this is cool, and this works perfectly. You have your manual choke here, have a manual oiler. It also has an auto oiler, but you have your manual one here. You just kind of nudge that out a couple times and it'll oil it. As you can see, spark plug there, and then you got your magneto switch here, which there's a whining noise when you turn that on, and it's supposed to be like that. And it's I'm not really sure what the whining noise is because there's no electronics in here other than the mag. So maybe there is, I don't know. Under here is our air filter. There's our exhaust. It's kind of a funky looking exhaust, but it's pretty cool. Now the only problem with this is that the chain was dull, and that can be sharpened. Another friend of mine has a chain sharpener, so I'll probably bring this over there sometime and just let it rip in the chain sharpener. But this thing, I mean, it rips. This thing is perfect, and it was thrown away. Believe it or not, the bike, the ice auger engine, and this were sitting in a dumpster when that one friend of mine got them out of there. And he thinks that the only reason why this was in the dumpster was because it didn't have this guard here, like what this electric Greenworks one has up here. And I mean, you know that Greenworks one you just saw? That thing does not work. It is the motor stalls. That brand new electric Greenworks chainsaw, which I did find in the garbage, by the way, and it did work when I first got it home. This spring when I tested it, it just does not work. The motor stalls and it starts smoking, so it's not a good sign, is it? And yes, I am using it properly. But this thing right here, I mean, this is my main chainsaw. This is, like, yeah. This thing is just gonna be my kind of main unit here. Let's see if maybe we can take off this air filter and see what's on the inside of that. Usually with the air cover off, I guess there's no filter in there. But I have got a filter that I can use around here, so I can change that and put a filter on it. But here's our carb. Gas line there, gas tank is here, and on here, kind of a weird two-stroke ratio, but guy who gave this to me just said use 1 to 50 because it used to be 1 to 8. He said it used to be 1 to 8 in the manual, but modern oils have kind of made that like a 1 to 50 or 1 to 30. So, I mean, I guess that's just what I'll use. Then again, two-stroke oil is not expensive, so oh well. I just don't want it to run too rich of oil. Yeah, here's our carb. Just choke there, the oiler there. Not that that really has to do with the carb, but fuel line looks okay. I mean, I might want to change that, but I don't really have a lot of trees around me to cut down. I've got some branches that this will be used with, but I'm not going to be cutting down anything, like, other than a few, like, kind of garden trees that are dead. But, yeah, I guess I'll throw that back on. And I must say, when this thing needs work, I'm going to get it done by a professional, because this is just kind of too cool to me to have my unprofessional skills be done with it. Okay, so I guess we'll start kind of back here at square one, with the old moto mower, Briggs & Stratton. So, yeah, I mean, this has just kind of been a video on what I've been working on while I've been a little busy and kind of away from YouTube for a while, but I'll still make videos, don't worry, electronics are coming back. I've got plenty of AM tube radios to work on, from the 40s and 50s, and I don't know, I just got to get a parts list ordered and bought and delivered, and we'll get right to them again. So yeah, with that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you.